Errol Spence Jr. has the media real mad about the fact that he is going to get a fight for at least the WBC title against Sebastian Fundora. The media and boxing fans are saying that Terence Crawford deserves that fight and that it is not right what boxing is doing, allowing a guy coming off of a knockout loss to fight for a championship in his next fight. And from a boxing point of view, I've said the same thing and questioned the same thing myself. But the same people, strangely enough, had nothing to say about it the other times it took place. However, we will get into that and talk about it more in this video. All right, welcome back to the channel. It's your boy Fanon. And in this video, we are going to talk about hypocrites in the boxing media, hypocrites in the comment sections of videos, hypocrites making YouTube videos, hypocrites tweeting. And I'm going to tell you that this is something that I've talked about before and continually raised, that people continue to defend. But it's very interesting that when it happens for somebody that they don't support, how everything changes around. Now, what am I talking about? I'm talking about Errol Spence Jr. and the fact that Errol Spence Jr. got into the ring with Sebastian Fundora after Sebastian Fundora beat Tim Tszyu for the WBO and the WBC 154-pound titles. And after that, Errol gets in the ring. They announced that these guys are going to be fighting next, Sebastian Fundora and Errol Spence, for those belts. Paco Varicel orders this very same day, says, hey, we're going to be ordering this fight between Fundora and Terence Crawford, which means more than likely that that belt, if they go through that with that and Terence Crawford goes through with wanting that fight, if it's not Sebastian Fundora, that Sebastian Fundora will get stripped, and the fight between Errol Spence and Terence Crawford, Errol Spence and Fundora, however, will still go through. They'll just be fighting for one belt. But what's the problem with this? Errol is coming off of a knockout loss to Terence Crawford. So the question is, why does he deserve a championship shot? He should not get one. He doesn't deserve one. He, like Terence Crawford said, should get back in line and wait in line. That would make sense if that's how boxing worked. However, that's not how boxing works. And I've made this statement on this channel in videos many times when talking about the many times that this happens in boxing. Now, before I get into the explanation, because I went a little long in this video before, I thanked all of you guys for being subscribers. If you're not subscribed, subscribe. Thank you very much. Thank you to Matty O. Thank you to Jay Mills. Thank you to the super chat, to the super thanks crew, people that sponsor these videos. Thank you very, very much. It's immensely important to the channel. Thank you, Matty O. Thank you, Jay Miller. Thank you, Jay Milt, sir. Thank you. But look, I don't know if you guys noticed this or not, but Sebastian Fundora got knocked out in his last fight. The guy that Errol Spence Jr. would be fighting coming off a knockout loss is a guy that won those two titles coming off of a knockout loss. So to say that one guy coming off a knockout fight to fight two belts, when the guy that just won those two belts also just got knocked out in his last fight before he won them, is a little bit hypocritical, wouldn't you say? Wouldn't you say somebody else would deserve that? But we understand. You could say Fanon, that is a bad example because that was a late-minute replacement. They didn't originally sign up for that fight. The original fight was supposed to be with Keith Thurman, a guy that hadn't had a fight in 2 years. But that's okay because I didn't mind the fights because I now understand how boxing works. But let me go to some examples where we're talking about people that came off knockout losses and went right into, or other losses, and went straight into title fights that they didn't complain about. Okay, you have Leigh Wood, one of the 126-pound champions who just moved up to 130 pounds. He got knocked out. Ye did. And then in his very next fight, he came out, lost to a Mexican guy. I can't remember. I think it was Mauricio Lara. May have been Mauricio Lara. I can't remember the name of the fighter, the Mexican fighter that beat him. He gets knocked out. And then what do? They give him another fight shot at that title. And the very next fight, he's back fighting in that. Okay? So that's another example of a guy that gets a championship shot coming off a knockout. Also, Josh Warrington, same thing. Gets knocked out, comes back, and gets another championship shot right away. And then comes back, then eventually fights the other guy that got a championship shot after getting knocked out in his last fight. The Leigh Wood and Leigh Wood and Josh Warrington fight each other for a 126-pound belt. I can also tell you that Josh Warrington had also got knocked out by somebody else in a few fights before that. Immediately jumps up and gets another shot at that too. So at the guy that knocked him out. Now, you may say, well, that's over there in the UK. Nobody really knows those guys, so not a lot of people are going to complain. Do you have another example of somebody losing a fight and immediately getting Let's talk about a fight that's coming up between Vasily Lomachenko, who just lost to Devin Haney. Admittedly, I think he may have thumped up Devin a good amount and got jobbed, but still lost that fight and comes right back and gets a championship shot for the vacant IBF belt, the only belt that Lomachenko to date has not won at that weight division. And he's going to be fighting George Kambosos, a guy that lost for championship shots back to back. Jumps out there and gets a very suspect win against Maxie Hughes. And now, boom, he's right back fighting for another championship shot. Now, why do these things happen? They happen because the promotional companies make these things happen, and the sanctioning bodies are perfectly fine with it. Also, there's reasonable explanations for why it can happen if a guy has done a lot in his career. If he has, say, been a 3-belt champion, and say, in a division below him, and the fight that he lost, he was extreme. He was weight drained, and he was injured, and he loses to the guy that's the absolute best guy in boxing, and that guy had knocked out every other guy that he fought in that weight class. So it's not like it's just he fought a very, very good fighter in his last fight, the best fighter in boxing. So they give him another shot. I thought we wanted. Now, there's also this idea that, once you're one, you're one and your career is over, one, you can't know, man. A dude in that stage of his career does not have to start from ground zero. Now, should he get that fight, the WBO fight over Terence Crawford if they order it? No, he shouldn't. Terence Crawford, he's the WBO super champion. He can get that mandatory. They ordered this guy to fight him as soon as he got the belt. It is what it is. He gets to fight for that WBO belt. But the WBC is not a mandatory. Ain't nobody forcing Sebastian Fundora to keep that WBO belt. And he can go get that payday with Errol Spence Jr. with no problem. Anyway, that's my take on the matter. Please let me know what you think in the comment section. Please be reasonable, because I'm being reasonable. I understand both sides of it. I can understand why somebody would say, I don't think that's right. But at the same time, don't hate the player, hate the game. That's what the deal is. Don't hate the player, hate the game. That's my take. You let me know what you think, and that I'm out. Deuces.